Today we have an artifact that I have always been really excited about. This is actually one of my favorites. This is a glazed oil lamp from Abu Ghosh, a city about 10 miles outside of Jerusalem. If I can get the camera to focus, you'll see that it has some very fine details. And the glazing, which you can see that wet look to it and the, I don't know, almost a satin sheen, that makes it a much higher quality piece, because most oil lamps were not glazed. The glazing prevents the oil from seeping through the pores, so it's just meant to make the oil last longer, especially if it's going to sit for a little bit. Not sure what this symbol here means. Down here we have the maker's mark, but I actually have the entire provenance for this piece, which makes it extremely exciting to me. Oh, we'll do it like that. So Abu Ghosh, formerly known in ancient times as Kiryat Yearim, or Village of the Woods, is less than 10 miles away from Jerusalem. It's a city which Jesus would have visited, and it's also believed that Caleb's descendant, Shobal, founded that city. The Ark of the Covenant sat here for 60 years after being moved from Beth Shemesh, where the Philistines had sent it with appeasement offerings of tumors and such in gold, after stealing the Ark. The wrath of God had proved too great, and they couldn't bear its presence any longer. From there it was moved into the city of David, Jerusalem, and Israel entered its short age of glory, in which kings and queens of many nations came to pay homage to the mighty name of God. Later, when Israel had drifted away from God, this is where the prophet Uriah, a contemporary with Jeremiah, was born and preached. The weeping prophet Jeremiah would also have visited here periodically. Uriah unsuccessfully fled from here to evade King Jehoiakim, the tyrant vassal king who was never buried because he was cast over Jerusalem's walls by Nebuchadnezzar for his wickedness. This same king handed over the Israelites as slave hostages to Nebuchadnezzar, one of which was also the prophet Daniel. This city is one of the potential sites for the biblical town of Emmaus. It's on the same road there that Jesus appeared to two disciples walking from Jerusalem to Emmaus. He hid his identity from them until they were about to part ways after sharing a meal. He then revealed himself to them and departed. The Knights Hospitallers, a group of crusaders, built a church here in 1141 due to their belief that this was Emmaus. The Crusader-era church/monastery sits there to this day. How many relics of the Holy Land conquest did this sit below, and how many brave soldiers lived above it? The Church of the Resurrection was built over the site of an earlier Byzantine church, the layer from which this oil lamp came. As such, this lamp is almost certainly an early Christian relic, contemporary with early church fathers like Augustine. It may have had a place in the early monastery for the reading of scriptures. Scriptures like, "Your word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path." Now we also see this jug. This is an oil jug. Long time ago, just before I got this jug, our furnace failed and would never function again. The temperature was rarely going above the low 30s Fahrenheit outside during the day, and the house temperature, well, that was hanging around around the 50s. Sorry, there was a spider that was being weird at me. Anyway, so all the individual rooms of our house were heated with oil because our furnace had failed. Our natural gas furnace had just up and died. So I was using my antique oil lamps, and I filled them with kerosene again, which reminded me of this artifact that I had just gotten. And it inspired some thoughts on the parables of Jesus, specifically the parable of the 10 virgins in Matthew 25. So at the time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps, but did not take along any extra oil. But the wise ones took oil in flasks along with their lamps. This would be one of those such flasks. When the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight the cry rang out, "Here is the bridegroom, come out to meet him." Then all the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish ones said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, our lamps are going out." "No," said the wise ones, "or there may not be enough for both us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves." But while they were on their way to buy it, the bridegroom arrived. Those who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the other virgins arrived and said, "Lord, Lord, open the door for us." But he replied, "Truly, I tell you, I do not know you. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour." It was customary for virgins or bridesmaids to light the path for the groom to enter the house before joining the festivities of the wedding. The virgins in this parable represent the members of the church, the house represents heaven, and the groom is, of course, Jesus. The lamps here do the groom a service, which is to beautifully light his path to the banquet as an honor to him. This represents how Christians are supposed to let their light shine and point the way to heaven. By not lighting his way, though they profess to know him, they do him a disservice by not being prepared or present for his arrival. They leave the path dark, cold, unseen, and forgotten. They leave him on his own and show no care or concern for his very existence through their own apathy or ignorance. And because of this, when they did finally get prepared, it was too late. The doors were shut and the party rolled on. The foolish virgins had only enough oil to outwardly make them look prepared, as their lamps did at one point light the way. But when the groom finally came, their lights were out, and they were not present to greet him or to light his way. All of them had fallen asleep in service to him, but half of them were not prepared at all. They did not make provision for what was to come. They did not think or try until it was too late. The call was made, and there was a great awakening of all the expectant virgins. The groom could not wait any longer to enter his own banquet than it would take him to get there, and why should he? When he came, with or without the virgins to light the way before him. He was here and now, and those who were prepared went forth to meet him. The awakening for the foolish virgins was that they were in want, and as they were insufficient for the moment of greatest importance. Their lamps had gone out, and they had not honored the groom. They realized their folly, and though they rushed to amend the issue, it was too late. As Matthew Henry wrote, "What they began in spirit ended in flesh. The profession withers, and the credit of it is lost." They wanted to borrow oil, but everyone must give account for his or her own actions. Others cannot carry them through. Everyone is responsible for himself or herself. Ezekiel 18:20 says, "The soul who sins shall die. The son shall not suffer for the iniquity of the father, nor the father suffer for the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon himself, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon himself."